Good morning from New Haven, Connecticut. On reflection, Willie Collum pulls out of Aberdeen versus Hibs clash a day after Rangers slam the referee. So Collum was supposed to take charge of the game between Aberdeen and Hibs, and he's been replaced by Alan Muir because he had an injury in the Tuesday match in the Champions League between Galatasaray and Schalke. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty here. Rangers were left raging on Saturday when Collum showed a second yellow card to Daniel Candeias when TV evidence appeared to show him doing nothing wrong. Let's be clear. TV evidence showed that Willie Collum couldn't see an offence, which wasn't an offence, for which he gave a penalty for Rangers against Celtic. Did Rangers complain that day? No. Did Rangers call on video evidence that day? No. Did they call on television evidence that day? No. Did they call for Willie Collum to be censured? No. Anyway, Rangers appealed against the decision. Now, I'll say that I personally didn't see much wrong with Candeias' behaviour. But when, actually, to be fair, his behaviour in the immediate aftermath of the goal wasn't good. Wasn't good, okay? People have been booked for their celebrations before. Two St Mirren players suggested he calm down. Two of them suggested calm down. The second St Mirren player, Anton Ferdinand, put his arms around him and squeezed him. Didn't squeeze him lovingly. Seconds of Rangers afforded the government body the opportunity to let common sense prevail, and we are surprised that they have chosen not to do so by correcting what was and what remains an inexplicable decision by the match referee Willie Collum. Rangers shall now seek bookings of a player in a game. Rangers will look for a fundamental review. Rangers made a fundamental review of Scottish as chairman of the club. And in 1920, when they, with that chairman and with Billy the Bigot Struth, hired in the Masonic Lodge and the Orange Lodge. And when they did that hiring, that recruiting, they recruited a whole slew of match officials. Match officials on their side. Match officials who gave them decisions that nobody ever got in any other club, or any other club in Scotland. True, Willie Collum is a dickhead. Willie Collum, as a Catholic religious education teacher, has had his card marked. He knows, just as Kevin O'Donnell learned, that you cannot avoid giving certain decisions against certain teams if Celtic are playing. Now, personally, I see an easy way out here. Let's pretend that Willie Collum is a Celtic fan. Let's pretend Kevin O'Donnell was a Celtic fan. Let's admit that the vast majority of referees are fans of anybody else other than Celtic. But a good few of them are Rangers fans. They've been season book holders. Easy decision. If you're a season book holder, if you are a fan of a particular club, you are not permitted to officiate for that club in any position, not even the fourth official. Now, what that does is it demands a better spread of match officials. Easy done. easy done. The John Beatons of the world don't get to cover Rangers matches. And by the way, we should also be very wary of them covering the matches of other teams who are in a position to take over the mantle that Rangers, Sevco, hold wherever they are in the league or in the cup. These people know the disciplinary situation. So they can have someone booked. They can book someone. They can send someone off knowing that this player is going to miss a particular match. By the way, don't think for a second they don't know these things. So again, Willie Collum has made a lot of mistakes. He's made a lot of mistakes against a lot of clubs. And I'm quite sure St Mirren fans might think that he's been poor against them for a long time. I'm sure you'll find that every other club in Scotland has had complaints to make about Willie Collum. But you'll find out that Rangers have less complaints about the season book holders and the guys who have allowed them to finish a match with 11 players when half of their side have been kicking everybody off the park. Much was made recently of Daniel Arzani not getting a game for Celtic when he was such a fantastic player with fantastic promise, and he was a Manchester City kid. But with respect, the boy came in, and on his first major test, he went off the park with a cruciate ligament injury. Was he ready for the 100-mile-an-hour Scottish game? Was he ready for the hammer throws? Was he ready for the let's take him out stuff that happens to Celtic wingers and Celtic flankers, and has done for as long as I have watched football? Now, did the referee cause that injury? No. Could the referee have done anything to stop it? No. So what do we do when referees get it wrong? Well, the SFA don't do very much, because these guys just continue to cover the same games in the same way, making the same mistakes time after time after time. But according to Sevco, if one of these decisions is obviously wrong, it must be possible to correct that mistake. It is wrong that players' livelihoods and careers can be impacted without the opportunity of redress, especially when the official responsible for the miscarriage of justice is allowed to continue as though beyond question or reproach. Is it wrong for players to be kicked in the groin, have their groins trodden on, be kicked in the upper thigh while lying on the ground by Sevco players and Sevco fans playing at other clubs, and have that individual finish the game? Is it right, or is it wrong that the livelihood and career might be impacted by such standing on the groin, standing on the ankle, standing on the knee, standing on the thigh, kicking in the testicles, standing on the testicle? Is that wrong? Is that right? Since when did Sevco bother about people's livelihoods and careers when one can easily switch on to YouTube and watch the shameful tackles of their players over the last 2 decades? I'm sure you would get the same if you went back 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and even 10 decades. I mean, there's great stories about a certain Rangers winger being tripped on, like 30 yards out and sliding all the way into the box for a penalty. Anyway, Sevco say it defies belief that this same referee who got it so blatantly wrong on Saturday is awarded one of the biggest matches in Scottish football this weekend. while Daniel Candeias is denied the right to go to his work. This, frankly, is unacceptable. Correct. So, why don't we do what I have suggested for many years? I wrote a letter to UEFA and FIFA many years ago suggesting that with the technology that we have and with cameras being used inside the ground to help the policing of the grounds, to put another camera in the same area all around the park, turned onto the football park, where all the off-the-ball stuff can be noted, where all of the incidents may be found and watched by a team of officials, where scandalous physical assaults, testicle grabbing, testicle stamping, crunching of the ankles, raking the studs down somebody's Achilles, or spitting, or punching, or forearm smashing can be caught. Jersey pulling. Now, in all honesty, I watched one of the matches last night in Europe, and the jersey pulling didn't bring a booking. Should have done. Does it always bring a booking? Should it always bring a booking? One of the most ridiculous things in Scottish football is the penalty box. How many referees and referees' assistants, even with one on the line and one behind the goal, see the tugging, the love reaction with people's arms around their opponents, hands on their arms, hands here, hands around their waist. How many people see that? Now, a number of years ago, I remember in a European match, Lee Naylor did that against a European team, and Celtic had to deal with a penalty situation. Now, the decision was right, because Lee Naylor put his arms around somebody and stopped them getting to the ball or stopped them making progress. Whatever. It's not a problem. It's a penalty kick. Let's do the same with everybody. Let's do the same with everybody. Let's tell them to keep their hands off one another in the box. And when the referees see this going on, instead of going over and saying, now listen, I'm going to have to tell you one more time, and this is going to be your last time, let him flash a yellow. Let him flash a yellow, because he sees it going on. You can see what's happening. Or wait till it actually happens in open play, and when the ball is kicked for the corner, call the decision, call the penalty, or call the foul the other way. Call the foul in the box. I think you'll find that the referees will call the foul in the box the other way if the team defending will be Sevco, or if the team attacking will be Celtic, or if the team attacking is playing against Sevco. There's many unacceptable decisions, but I also suggested to UEFA and FIFA that they put a number of match officials around the ground. I suggested they play with 2 on-field referees, 1 in each half. And those referees stay in the same half, the second half. They don't transfer, so that they're always protecting their team. I also suggested they have a line official in each half of the field, on each side of the field. So 2 referees, 4 line officials, assistant referees on the outside of the park, and a line official behind each goal on each side of the goal. 10 match officials, a bit like American football. And they've all got a flag. And they throw the flag down on the ground if they see an incident. And with cameras all over the ground, these incidents can be pulled up, the same as they're pulled up in American football. So they pull up the camera. We've got VAR, and it's going to be pushed into action by UEFA for the next stages of the Champions League. And it's not because of the ridiculous penalty given to Manchester City when Raheem Sterling stubbed his toe, fell on the ground, and the referee gave him a penalty. In all honesty, a decent team would have realised it wasn't a penalty and just tapped the ball back to the keeper. Either that or kicked the ball into the stand or whatever, but they didn't need to score the goal. Raheem Sterling balanced the books by scoring a magnificent goal later on. But the fact is, instead of 6-1, it should be 5-1. And that's another thing that can easily happen. If a goal is given wrongly, take the score away. It's easy. It's not 1-0, it's nothing each. It's not 1 each, it's 1-0 to whatever team. Make the decision. Grow some testicles. Play the game by the rules. If the ball rockets into the back of the net, hits the stanchion and comes right back out, it's a goal. Whether the referee sees it or whether he doesn't see it. But with cameras, we can catch it. And when the referee gets it wrong and refuses to correct his mistake, slap him in the arse, in public, bare arse, and ban him for a couple of months. Take his wages away. Let him go back to being a policeman or a lawyer or whatever he was. I seem to remember somebody who wanted to see Billy McNeill in a professional capacity. And I had a feeling that in his professional capacity, he was a coroner or something like that. That would be really cool, eh? How would you like to see Billy McNeill dead on a plate right in front of me? Wow. I'd like to be finding out how he died. Very interesting. Anyway, Sevco go on. Furthermore, it is understood that a number of people within the Scottish FA are in no doubt Mr. Collum's judgment was flawed, and Rangers shall now be submitting a formal complaint about the performance of this referee. How many of the people in the Scottish FA are prominent Freemasons? How many of these people within the Scottish FA have already marked Willie Collum's card? How many of them told him, if you don't behave, you will follow Kevin O'Donnell being thrown out of the game? Kevin O'Donnell was thrown out of the game, stripped. Away you go back to being a school teacher or he was a religious teacher as well, was he? I can't remember what he was, but he was teaching at Shotts. And I know that Willie Collum was teaching in Whitburn or Blackburn. Whitburn, Blackburn, St. Kentigern's Academy, where he was a religious teacher in the Catholic school. So let's send Willie Collum back to being a religious teacher in a Catholic school. But let us also be aware that within the Scottish FA, we have prominent Freemasons who have promoted prominent Rangers players and prominent Sevco people and prominent Masons into positions running the game in Scotland. And by the way, that's one of the reasons why Rangers can make this complaint, because they have very, very well covered in Masonic clubs. Ask Brother McCoist of Thornley Bank. Why did Big Jock know? Jock Stein was a Freemason. Did that block him from becoming manager of Celtic? No, it didn't. No, it certainly did not. Did being a Freemason block Celtic players from playing in the European Cup final? No, it certainly did not. Did being a Protestant stop anyone from becoming a Celtic player? Did being a Muslim stop anyone from becoming a Celtic player? No. So if you're going to deal with these situations with Mr. Collum, you need to deal with the situations regarding all of the season book holders plying their trade and protecting Sevco in almost every game, even against teams in the 5th division, the 5th tier of Scottish football. Rangers were getting decisions, Sevco were getting decisions that nobody else was getting. They were toiling, and they would get a last-minute penalty. There were occasions when they might get 2 or even 3 penalties. They're running out of time, so they get 4 or 5 or 6 minutes extra time that they might get the result in the end. And then when they get the result that they want, they'll just blow the whistle and wind the game up. Now, we know that doesn't happen every week, but we know it happens. So, this, according to Sevco, is by no means the first time errors of judgment have been made in matches involving this official. And clearly, there is an underlying issue which requires to be addressed. And that underlying issue is, this man's a Catholic. This man teaches Catholic religion in Catholic schools. And we, the Protestants, cannot abide by this Catholic, this papist, this Fenian bastard to have anything to do with our games. And he shouldn't ever be allowed to affiliate us, to officiate in our games. I kind of suggested that early on as well. But then you need to apply the rule across the board. You can't just apply it to Willie Collum because he's a Catholic, because he's a Catholic school teacher, because he's a Catholic religious school teacher. You have to do the same for the Craig Thompsons of the game. Craig Thompson is an absolute rat. I created the Primrose Premiership as it happened page because of the scandalous decisions given by Craig Thompson. Week after week after week after week after week. And yes, he was held back from certain prominent games. But every time he showed his neb and presented himself for working as a referee, he stepped up to the plate and did the usual crap. He made mistakes. Bad mistakes. He's human. They're all human. So what do? Cameras. 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 Turn the cameras. The cameras that are turned on the fans. And actually, the ridiculous thing is, while there's cameras turned on the fans to watch for trouble, when 40,000 sectarians are screaming out, wading to their knees in Fenian blood, how come there's only 2 or 3 arrests? Well, the Scottish police force would then have to take these people to court and say, this is what they were doing, Your Honour, when according to Mackey's Masonic jurisprudence, they, as Freemasons themselves, couldn't go to court and testify of such against the brother Mason. Easiest thing in the game, lock the gates. If there's a section of the crowd where there's trouble, and remember, Celtic were having trouble with the Green Brigade. What did they do? They banned them. Celtic didn't take their money for a couple of games. They banned them from that section of the ground. When has that happened at Ibrox? When will it happen at Ibrox? When will it happen at Tynecastle? When will it happen at Pittodrie or Easter Road? Probably won't. It's unlikely to happen. It's unlikely to be required to happen. As a young man, I went to see Hibs quite a lot. We went into Edinburgh, toddled down Leith Walk, and went in to watch Hibs in certain games. And I remember one particular game, Hibs against Hearts, that we were standing close to the Hearts fans in the Hearts-Hibs match. And when the fighting broke out, we were left standing there in the middle of the fans that separated as a group of Celtic fans. And we saw the hate in the eyes of the Hearts mob, and we saw the hate in the eyes of the Hibs mob as they're looking at one another. We also noticed that some clubs will have one tune for one opposition and another tune for another opposition. And they had casuals who were there for trouble. And the same applies to match officials. Willie Collum has made mistakes, but he's human. How do you help him out? You put cameras on the ground, you use VAR, and you call the decisions. You take the decision out of his hand. If he makes a mistake, you stop it. Klaxon, stop the play. Stop the play. Now, you've got massive cameras at each side of the ground. Replay the incident. Let everybody see what happened. Look at this. Naismith stood in his testicles. Mr. Naismith, take an early bath. And by the way, don't come back to work for the next 2 months. Is that likely to stop Mr. Naismith standing in somebody's testicles? And if the same should happen with Scott Brown, standing in somebody's testicles, do the same with Scott Brown. But I think you'll find that Scott Brown's testicles that were stood on. And the same Mr. Brown got up and just went on with play. In one game against Aberdeen, 3 of them had a kick at him. And he stood up and he boldly declared his preparedness to continue the match. I have to say of Scott Brown is that when he gets hurt, picks himself up and goes on with the game. He doesn't run about with his hands and say, "Oh, referee, come on, where's the yellow card?" He doesn't do that every week or every match or every minute of every match. And then we have certain players who came into Scottish football from Liverpool or from anywhere else in the world and particularly got a job at Ibrox Park. And one of the first things they learn when they're at Ibrox is if somebody touches you, go down. If somebody touches you in the box, go down. The same could be said all over the game, all over the grounds, all over the Scottish game. Some people, when they get touched, they'll go down. Now, as a wee boy, one of the things I practiced was actually practiced in the gym hall, and it was called the forward roll. So when tripped, one of the things I tried to do was do a forward roll. Roll over and try to get back up as quick as I could. If I scored the goal, the salute for me was a Denis Law salute. One hand, straight up, back to the centre. Who the hell needs to slide 40 yards along on their knees or call everybody to come and give them a hug in the corner? Nobody needs that. Easy decision. Change your rule. Score a goal, get back to the centre. I can understand people being excited about scoring the winner, particularly when you score the winner in the last minute of the match, in the last match of the season, to win the league for your team. But I think you'll find that the non-Willie Collums of the Scottish game were very happy to book Shunsuke Nakamura for doing such in the last minute of the game, playing for Celtic, when he was booked for his celebration. I think it's time to stop this ridiculous booking for celebrations and turn the cameras on the fans and book those who are giving the Vicky and the one finger salute and screaming out abuse at the player who's just scored the goal. Because these are the poor offended ones. Oh, they're so offended. And they talk about people being obsessed when they actually comment on the real obsession, and it's the obsession that Sevco think that the rules should be changed just for them. And that certain decisions should be given just for them. And that their match officials don't have any questions about their behaviour. It's astonishing that certain people are always scolded if they complain about match officials. Think Neil Francis Lennon. If Lennon complains about a decision, they want him run out of the game. They forced him out of the game previously. They run him out of Scotland. Okay? And the truth is that Neil Lennon had no trouble playing in Northern Ireland, in the Republic of Ireland, in England, in Scotland, in Wales, or all over Europe, in international and European football matches for clubs in these nations. Until, of course, he signed for Glasgow Celtic. Suddenly, he was receiving bullets and bomb threats. This is sectarianism. And by the way, it's also racism. It's also racism. Do we do something about that? How and when and why? So, yeah, do we run out the sectarianism that exists in Scotland? Scotland's a Protestant country, is it? Was it always a Protestant country? What did you do to the Catholic king? What did you do to the Catholic kings and queens? Want the rules to be fair? They need to be fair. They need to be the same for everybody. Willie Collum. I'm not going to call for Willie Collum to be fired or to have him resigned. I would actually like to see Willie Collum referee a match without the baggage on his back, without thinking he has to do this or he has to do that. And if he has to do this and he has to do that, if a Celtic player does it, and he has to do this and he has to do that, if Daniel Candace does it, understand that. If a Celtic or Hibs player celebrates in a particular way and is booked, then the same has to happen to Daniel Candace. And if anybody dives, and we saw in the Sevco match in Russia, 2 Russian players were booked for simulation. One of them might have been simulation. I'm absolutely certain the second wasn't. But should there be any simulation, book the player. If you have to book a player a second time for simulation, then ban him for a week. If he's booked a third time for simulation, ban him for 2 weeks. If he's booked a fourth time for simulation, throw him out the game till the end of the season until he learns to stop diving all over the park. Now, I don't like the fact that Alberto Morelos is an absolute idiot on the park, or that Kyle Lafferty is an idiot on the park. But the same thing needs to be applied to everybody. When somebody else in another club behaves like these 2 assholes, which they are, then the same thing needs to happen to them. How do you make sure that happens? Cameras. Put the cameras on the park. Klaxon. Have a klaxon. Stop the game. We're going to review this. The referee doesn't decide it's going to be reviewed. The reviewers decide it's going to be reviewed. They take it in their own hands. They stop the game and they make sure that the John Beatons of the world and that the Bobby the Maddening crowd, the crowd maddener, these guys are ridiculous. Week after week after week, these same men do the same things for the same team. And by the way, Rangers don't even need to be playing. If Aberdeen are playing Hibs and a win for either of them means that they're going to take over Rangers' position at the top of the table, or they're going to go extra points ahead of Rangers to make sure that they don't get the big money to get into Europe or whatever, then these guys shouldn't be officiating. I have no problem if Willie Collum doesn't get to cover Celtic games. I don't have any problem if he doesn't cover Rangers games. But make sure that Bobby Madden doesn't either. Make sure that John Beaton doesn't either. Make sure that Andrew Dallas doesn't either. I mean, it's a family tradition with the Dallases. It's a family tradition. It goes all the way back to 1912. in 1920. That's how far that family tradition goes back. It's all because of the Primrose Pledge. It's all because they signed the pledge. And once they signed the Primrose Pledge, they are governed by Masonic jurisprudence, and you cannot speak out against the Brother Mason and bring the lodge into disrepute. So what you do is you cover it up and bring the lodge into disrepute. But you don't worry about that, because the media, police, the judiciary, and the SFA have sufficient Masons, that would be the vast majority of them, in position to make sure that you don't need to worry about it. In the meantime, this is Robert calling for every single Mason in Scottish public life to be exposed, removed from positions of authority relative to sport, relative to the judiciary, relative to the policing of the nation, relative even to life, if they are involved in disgraceful, satanic, Masonic pedophilia, and then having the nerve to accuse Celtic of covering up Jim Torbett's crimes when Jim Torbett was protected by Rangers for doing the same thing. Have a good day, Willie Collum. Alan Muir, I think you'll find that Alan Muir is very, very much from the other side. I think you'll find that Alan Muir has given a lot of bad decisions himself for the opposite reasons. So, 7:45, New Haven, Connecticut. Good morning and have a great day. I go. The bell invites me.